you. Super excited to be here. Wonderful to follow Dr. Abadili, and also the subject of from here to here. It makes sense a little bit more when you hear about my story. Today we're going to talk about CBD in service. Adding CBD to your med spa, resort spa, day spa, massage, or aesthetic practice. And we definitely want to emphasize the fact that those are all singled out because there is method of application for each one. A little bit about me. I'm a licensed esthetician. I've been licensed for a little bit over 12 years, and it's actually my second career. So I have a business degree, and I was in industrial construction administration, so naturally the progression from that is into the beauty industry, right? It was a blackhead that changed my life and made me realize that though I've only been licensed almost 13 years, I was born this way. I was born an esthetician. I think about skin all the time. I dream about it. And my heartbeat goes up when I scroll through Facebook and I see those pimple popping videos. I'm like, something's wrong with me. About 7 years ago, wanting to understand better how things work, I became a certified organic formulator. And so I use that mainly for consulting on different skincare formulations, but initially it was as an educator to understand how formulas are put together for efficacy. And that just means how it works in the skincare practice. I'm a consultant, so I consult businesses both for product development as well as skincare practices. And I'm a big-time cannabis enthusiast. I think my earliest memory was actually of cannabis at a party. So my parents were hippies and homesteaders. I've been around it for a long time. I don't recreationally partake, but I definitely medicinally partake. So we're looking at the hemp industry. In 2018, these are statistics you've heard all weekend. 2018, the hemp industry hit $1.1 billion. Of that, we have 390 million were CBD and 198 million were personal care. 2023 is expected to reach 22 billion. That's astronomical growth. We can assume then with those statistics that 396 million of that will be the hemp personal care market. Now parallel that's the hemp market. If we parallel that with what's going on in the skincare industry, the global skincare market reached 134 billion in 2018. It's expected to reach 177 billion, which is a 14.1% growth. What's driving the growth is functional products, anti-aging and otherwise, things that address acne, pigment, and so on. The consumer age was previously the demographic of the 45 plus, but now it begins in the 20s. People are starting to take care of their skin a lot earlier. Men's skincare. Raise your hand if you're a man with skin. All right. Keep your hand up if you're taking care of it. Two of you guys. I think it was Bernie Mac who was saying that men, when they do their personal care in the shower, that they start with their head, and then they go to their feet, and then they go up their bodies, and then to their face, and how girls, do that. But what we've seen in the last 5 years is the men's skincare market is really taking off because men are starting to realize that they have faces and that they age. Then product innovation. So this is where CBD kind of enters into the market, product innovation, but also simplicity. Where before we have the traditional market of several different steps in a routine, a regimen, but now it's a lot smaller, more condensed to keep up with our ever-changing, fast-paced lives. And then the use of organic materials. So if we're looking at today's consumer versus the consumer 10 years ago, they want functional things that work really, really well and that doesn't take a lot of time to put on their face. So where does CBD enter into that market? CBD with a host of different method of applications. What are some that you've heard about this weekend? Do what?
Inflammation.
What are ways, what are some traditional methods of application? We've heard about smoking, right? Well, that's a long history. Vaping, inhalation, and then we have the topical market. What is the topicals traditionally thought of for? Pain, right? So this is the evolution of CBD in the skincare market. It was about 5 years ago, and a speed date that changed my life completely is when I was asked, as a result of a speed date, to consider and that's for another time, to consider formulating with CBD. And I said, a pain cream for the face? And he was, why would you want to do that? And it was further investigation and studying that made me realize, that there is an opportunity here. So traditionally we had heard CBD is great for epilepsy. Oh my gosh, you guys. It's an antioxidant, super anti-inflammatory, but what is it going to do in the spa? Studies at that time were not as available as they are now, but it was an antioxidant, putting that together. Okay, so it's antioxidant, so naturally that would be great for skin. What else? Anti-inflammatory. So when we look at the conditions that people come into the spa for, the three main concerns are aging, acne, and pigment. So anti-inflammatory for aging, anti-inflammatory for pigment, and anti-inflammatory for acne. What does CBD do in the spa? For skincare, it helps with cell proliferation, melanogenesis, sebum regulation, and it's an anti-inflammatory. But what does that mean? Does anyone what is cell proliferation, and how is that appropriate for skincare? Cells turn over faster. As we age, our cells start to slow that down. So that appearance of our skin is dull, dry, dehydrated looking. So traditional methods of skincare anti-aging market is glycolic acids to speed up the cellular turnover. So when we're looking at CBD, this helps regulate that cellular turnover. The detriment of using alpha hydroxy acid in skincare solely is that then you have inflammation. So now entering CBD into the market, you have an anti-inflammatory nudge for that cellular turnover rate. Melanogenesis. What is melanogenesis? Anyone? Balancing out skin tone. So our skin has something in it called melanin. So melanin is responsible for tan. It's our body's natural response to perceived injury, which is why when we're in the sun, our sunshade of sorts comes up and protects our internal organs. That process is natural. What our bodies don't understand now is that we wear clothes, we're indoors, so we don't necessarily need that protection. Other opportunities for melanogenesis is on injury. So you see scarring from acne, scarring from surgeries, different things like that. So melanogenesis or melanocytes come to the surface and they protect your internal organs. What happens is as we age, that pigment gets stuck and it doesn't rescind. So then we have something called age spots. Have you guys, anybody experiencing that, age spots? Myself included. So with CBD, there's a melanogenesis property that helps to regulate it. So it decreases the opportunity for cell salinity. Sebum regulation. Does anybody know what sebum is? Oil. Sebum is our body's natural oil. Does anyone know what the barrier function is? Okay. So our bodies are also protected with this force field called our barrier function or our acid mantle. And it's a force field around our body that allows to keep, it keeps the good stuff in and the bad stuff out. So otherwise, if we were to take a bath or go swimming, we'd come out and puff up, right? So our acid mantle is this lipophilic, it's made out of oil. It's our force field. The message that gets sent from our acid mantle to our sebaceous glands are the oil glands responsible for the production, whether it's to turn it up or to turn it down. What happens with acne oftentimes, there's acne dry and acne oily, is there's a missed message from that acid mantle to the sebaceous glands, so it's out of balance. CBD helps with cell proliferation, melanogenesis, and sebum regulation. Therefore, it makes it like a miracle ingredient, it is a miracle ingredient when you're looking at formulations that are sophisticated for spa. Make sense? Now let's talk about massage. CBD has an analgesic property. This analgesic property is responsible for calming the nerves and turning down the pain. CBD applied topically communicates with the peripheral nervous system, which then communicates with the peripheral central nervous system, which basically says, whoa girl, let's relax, everything's fine. Applying CBD-infused massage products helps with muscle and joint relief. Nails, another function that is in the spa is manicure and pedicure services. So why would you add CBD into manicure and pedicure services? CBD is a proven antifungal, antibacterial, as well as an analgesic. So for those of us who've been walking around the trade show or traveling, this is a great little addition. We've seen CBD-infused salves in particular used on the red carpet recently with those beautiful high heels that the actresses and musicians wear on those days. So where does CBD fit into the spa? Everywhere. Where does CBD fit into the med spa? Med spas are different than spas. There's the biggest difference is a medical delegation, which I'll get into another time. So where does CBD fit into the med spa? Post-injection. As an analgesic, it helps to continue the numbing effect of either an injection or ice for lips, for example, as well as it helps to minimize bruising for injection points of Botox and such. Post-laser. In a med spa, when you're doing some of these laser services or chemical peeling, what you're doing is providing a controlled wounding. And you're controlling the wound so that you can control the healing to get a desired effect. It's almost like a Control-Alt-Delete. So that's why you have like CO2 lasers, for example, or deep penetrating chemical peels. It's to restart things so that you can manage the healing. Something went wrong initially. With adding CBD, it helps expedite the healing in an anti-inflammatory process while turning off the melanogenesis property and regulating the cell differentiation. So adding CBD to a med spa is amazing. What does CBD do in the resort spa? CBD in the resort spa helps to enhance the treatment experience, draws the crowd, and encourages an increase of retail sales. Things to consider. How many of you in this room are skincare practitioners looking to add it into your practice? One. How many of you in here are manufacturers wanting to know how to get into the spa? Awesome. And the language to talk. And then how many of you in here are just super excited to hear about CBD and skincare and why you need it? All right. Let me sum it up because that was a little rocky. The reason that you need CBD in your skincare is because it's super antioxidant. So long story short, it keeps you young. Super antioxidant. It's going to keep your cells young and fresh. It's going to keep your skin bright. And it's going to help your oil production. If you are a manufacturer considering getting into a spa, these are the questions that the spas are asking. Is your hemp domestically grown, US or Canada? The reason that that's a question is because before 2014 and 2018, most of the sourcing of CBD came from overseas. The next is it compliant with federal and local guidelines? What we've seen recently in the marketplace is a lot of states are super excited about bringing things in, but they are worried about local laws. And so some of the local laws, like states like Texas, for example, or Ohio, are questioning, is this from hemp or is this from marijuana? And as that gap closes, it'll be a different conversation. But this is the questions that people are asking. Is it grown with organic practices? Things to consider. Is the extraction from oil? This would be the greatest form of concentration for home extractions, but it's not for pro products. And the reason it's not for pro products is because there's no way to measure the efficacy or the quantity of milligrams by volume. Another extraction method is butane. Butane is a harsh way to extract, and it also can leave harmful residual solvents. Ethanol, previous to now, was an option, and it was known that it may destroy plant waxes, so it wasn't the best option for cosmetics, but now that's quickly changing. Still though, supercritical CO2 is the current best for skincare. Vapor distillation is something that's very exciting that's coming out too, is a neat way that you can hear some of the other extractors discussing. The vapor distillation is a ongoing, exciting, upcoming way to see the isolation of cannabinoids and also terpenes. One thing that you need to make sure you ask for is the lab tests. A lot of companies now are getting third-party and fourth-party testing. Another thing to consider when you're looking at manufacturers is full spectrum versus pure isolate. This industry was bred on people who have had to do a lot of self-education. With that, there is a passion and sense of ownership. So any of the information that they gather, a lot of companies are willing to share, but their positions come from a place of passion. This is very true for the full spectrum versus pure isolate argument. It kind of reminds me of when I don't know how old you guys are, but when I was, I think in elementary school, it was Miller Lite that came out with the commercials like taste great or less filling. You guys remember that? This is what it is, full spectrum or isolate. And what is the difference? Full spectrum would be the complete extract of the plant. Previously, this included those that were minus THC, but now the language has changed for anything minus THC is now broad spectrum. Full spectrum extract, there is a time and a place for both full spectrum and pure isolate when you're looking at topical skincare. However, until we understand like how in each condition, it might be different from I have a pain in my foot to I have a pimple on my face. And what are the cannabinoid concentrations that are going to be appropriate for each? We don't really know that yet. The studies really aren't available for that yet. However, we still have the argument of full spectrum and the whole plant extract is better than an isolate. I think that absolutely can be true, but there is still a place for pure isolate skincare products, especially when we have studies coming out that's saying THC potentially could be aggravating for acne, which was a recent study, or if we have other different functioning, as we know, we see the products downstairs even for sleep or for lifting you up. This terpene content changes the intention of a product, and that's what we will understand, and that's kind of the future of the wave of skincare is going to be cannabinoid content and terpene content. So, full spectrum versus pure isolate. The argument is very passionate on both sides, and the judgment will be left to you guys as to which you think would be better. But they're both good. They both have a place. Other things to consider is labeling. There was a movement about 4 years ago. The CBD and skincare started about 5 years ago. About 3 to 4 years ago, companies were jumping on the bandwagon and saying, we're CBD, we're hemp. There were some really well-known professional brands that even got into that, and they're immortalized now in ads and articles for toting that they had CBD. The truth is they had hemp seed oil, which by itself is a really cool ingredient, very skin-friendly, full of omega fatty acids, which also help the skin, but CBD it is not. So a lot of companies are weed washing, is what it's called in the industry. They're weed washing by toting the benefits of CBD, a cannabinoid, versus hemp seed oil, which is an oil. Two very separate things. Ask the companies, what is the milligram content? Ask why they selected that milligram content, because not always is more. Often less can be more. You wouldn't want a cleanser with 500 milligrams of CBD in it because it's going to wash down the drain effectively. You do still want a cleanser because the cleanser is actually turning on the endocannabinoid system, which is beginning the cascade of healing, but that's another presentation. What is the CBD composition? So other companies were touting, we have 500 milligrams of CBD, but actually it was cannabinoid extract, cannabinoid-rich hemp oil. So it was maybe 50% CBD, and the rest of the 50% was made up of other cannabinoids and terpenes. So what is the composition of actual CBD? What are they pairing the ingredients with? In the early days of this movement, it was CBD and coconut oil. But what we know about coconut oil is that it has a high comedogenic property, which means it makes you have pimples. What are you pairing your ingredients with? If you are a skincare practitioner, you obviously want to know for reasons of contraindications, but if you are a manufacturer, you want to know for efficacy. Some sophisticated intentional formulations now include plant stem cells, as well as peptides. With that, as product manufacturers, what you don't want to do is necessarily have this organic US-sourced hemp combined with PEGs or parabens. So being conscientious of the ingredients that you pair it with will get you far, because that's what the consumer's looking for now. Other problems for both practitioners and for companies is their social media. Unfortunately, banks have not caught up yet with the fact they didn't hear. The word on the street is there was a farm bill passed in late 2018, and the banks have yet to catch up. So what that means, unfortunately, is you have a lot of companies, manufacturers, have to source their banking from interesting places, which changes online platforms like their Shopify accounts or their ability to take payment. Companies have to pay expanded higher rates. Other manufacturers, the normal Square, for example, charges about 3% per transaction. For companies in cannabis, and I say cannabis, but I mean on the hemp side, the legal side, it's 9 to 12% per transaction plus a transaction fee. And then they hold your money for 30 days while they chase it overseas. And so keeping that in mind as a manufacturer when you're pricing your products for your cost of goods sold is important. That will be changing soon. But also as a practitioner, I've seen practitioners get shut down. They're using an online booking software that has their booking, their retail products, as well as all their treatments. And they have been shut down because on their personal Facebook page, they posted about CBD. So that particular software company made them remove any evidence of cannabis, period, from their personal social media before they would release the funds that they had already earned. So being creative when you're posting on or entering into your POS system, calling it a green facial, for example, instead of a big old joint marijuana weed facial. You can't take that. That's the one I named mine. You can also call, they're now still even kind of raising red flags over hemp enhancement. So considering the word hemp. Again, that's going to change. We're expecting that to be amended by the end of the year, but in the meantime, just being conscientious of that. As manufacturers, a great idea would be to be creative with your social media to help your accounts or to help your wholesalers. So, reposting is a great thing for everybody, but especially it'll increase your loyalty, your client loyalty. If you're a practitioner, how do you let people know now that you've got this big old joint marijuana, Tupac and Snoop Dogg facial without the powers of the one way that you can market nowadays, which is social media? What you cannot do is boost it. So on Facebook or Instagram, you boost your posts like, hey, this is my special this month. You can't do that here because there's an exchange there, which is the banking, because there's a payment. What you can do is post the heck out of it, hashtag the heck out of it, because it's with more understanding of that this is staying, this meaning CBD in skincare, this meaning CBD in service, this meaning CBD in self-care, that's going to help with this evolution. So post the heck out of it. Encourage your clients to post the heck out of it. Repost for your wholesale accounts. That was really fast, and I guess the gist of it is because I said so, but that doesn't always work. Why CBD in the spot? Because I said so. Why CBD for home care? Because I said so. But to sum it up, why CBD in the spa is it's something that's on the tip of everyone's tongue. It's something that works amazingly well. I wish I could share before and after pictures for anyone that's interested afterwards. As a licensing practicing esthetician, I actually perform these services myself, as well as consult for companies on how to develop their products and how to develop their education platform. So I have a lot of anecdotal information I'm happy to share with you afterwards. As well, it's what the clients are looking for. So, does anybody have any questions? Yes.
All right, let me get you this mic real quick.
So regarding massages, I'm getting a lot of massage therapists that are coming and asking, how do we use this? Because we've got, we've got a pump, right, that's just delivers 10 milligrams per pump, say. And they're asking, do I blend that with more coconut oil? Do I use it as is? How much do I use for an hour massage? Or, it can vary, obviously, by client. So can you recommend anything in that space for massage therapists?
Absolutely. Thank you. This is amazing. So when you're, what is the dosage? So dosage is another word that you hear of, and it started in dispensary. So naturally, the progression of conversation in the spa is what's the dosage. So topically, there is a range, because we don't have controlled studies that show that application range. We're kind of looking at some data. So what we know is 10 to 30 milligrams applied topically is effective. What we also know is that anything we don't use will be excreted. So you don't want to do a 100 milligram massage because you're just throwing the product away. So with the manufacturers, are you a manufacturer? Have you figured out your milligram per pump or per ounce? That would be the guidelines that I would give them. Massages are about a 1 ounce per application, depending on the body. Of course, there's extra things. So what should they mix it with? They shouldn't mix it with, and they need additional glide. So 7 to 10 milligrams. Does that help? And if they should actually, you can also add things like a concentrated salve, for example. I don't know what your company offerings are for like joints and so on. I would pair it with or follow it up with, a jojoba-based product too, so it's not a super complicated formula to interact, but that would be my advice.
Can I expand upon that?
Sure.
So I've been a massage therapist for 16 years, and I've been using CBD in my practice for the last 5 years. And so another recommendation for manufacturers is pay attention what you're blending with the CBD for the massage oil, because I've come across products that are blending it with olive oil, which obviously it's not going to penetrate into the skin and into the body as easily if you're using that as